Willis, we're going to do things a little different. We are going to provide an honest look at Ole Miss athletics. The fan, by the fan, and the fan. That is what we do. Hell be to me. I'm just kidding. Tune in for some Ole Miss sports news. We're going to give it to you straight. Yeah. Right now. The podcast starts now. It happens now. Holy cow. Listen to me. It's starting. Well, it's going to start right about now. Good morning, good morning, good morning. I hope everybody is doing fantastic. I am doing pretty fantastic. After an 18-point win by the Rebs last night over the Bulldogs, 64-46 in the first game of the basketball Egg Bowl. Pretty nice situation. Ran into a team that they could win by defense and rebound and play normal basketball. And they were not required to have the shooter present. They just do not have. Devontae Shuler had a decent game. He played 33 minutes. But all in all, it was a fairly decent game. And let's see, Devontae Shuler finished with 22. Kel Joyner finished with 12. KJ Buff 9. MSU Vaughn 7. And looking at rebounding, Luis Rodriguez was probably the leader. Jarkel Joyner had 5. Melo White got in obvious foul trouble early, 2 points and 3 boards and 4 personal fouls. So, all in all, Ole Miss 64, Miss State 46, 18-point win in the basketball Egg Bowl. So that's kind of the situation you want to be in, and this is the way that this team can win games. They don't have the shooter. They don't have things like that necessary, so they have to kind of grind out wins playing defense, rebounding, and shooting a high percentage of 2 and working around the basket. That is their formula. That is what they need to do. And they were able to do that last night against Mississippi State, 64-46. 8-point lead at the half. They outscored him by 10 in the second half. So Ole Miss improves to 7-6, goes to 2-4 in conference. And it's a good start because they're getting ready to play other teams that have just the same trouble scoring as they do. They have their Tennessees and that on the schedule, but there are teams that kind of fit the profile, have a chance to make a little bit of a run, I think. Let's look at this real quick. I'll tell you the next 5 games are. Texas A&M, who's about the same record they are. At Arkansas, who's same conference record as they are. At Georgia, it's a revenge game. If they shoot fairly well, they should be able to handle Georgia. Then they have to see at Auburn. Bruce Pearl has all manners of problems with Davis. That's the way it is. South Carolina, they got their seat kind of got hijacked by COVID. Mississippi State, we just saw last night what they do. Mizzou is pretty good. They're on the schedule. Tennessee's on the schedule. Vanderbilt's there. They're winning conference, and they close with Kentucky. Kentucky is now 3-2 in the EC, even though they're 4-8 overall. So that's the road that Ole Miss has moving forward. I mean, they let one get away to Wichita State late in the game. They got blown out by Alabama, blown out by LSU. They collapsed into the game against Florida. Kind of the same story against Georgia, except that their collapse was about the 9-minute mark is when Georgia went on their run. So the talent's been there for about 30 minutes in a game. The problem is the game 40 minutes long. So once the consistency gets there, it'll be all right. But the problem is at the beginning of the season, COVID just hijacked team. South Carolina is going through a lot of the same stuff, but they're behind other teams competitive because they missed 3 or 4 weeks of practice, and they're just kind of coming together. And the 4 games to start the season when they came back, that cut on practice time. There's a huge thing in regards to practice time. And the fact is, Ole Miss did not have a shooter. There's no Marshall Henderson. There's no Chris Warren. There's no Stephen Moody. And not having that piece hurts them. You can be good everywhere else, but not having that piece hurts them. So anyway, you can listen to the podcast at the Stephen Willis on Twitter or at Ole Positively. Catch us on Facebook at facebook.com/POMcast. Of course, we're YouTube at Positively Ole Miss. Hit the bell for notifications for streaming. As you can see, those notifications are going out. So that'll always let you know when something new is out for you. And we're on chat Positively Ole Miss, one word. So any of those, you keep up with the video aspect of the podcast, which is about to grow. I'm supposed to get the first part order today, and we'll start building, and we're putting together studio and things like that. Now, if you're on audio, you can catch us on Google Podcast, Apple Podcasts, Stitcher, Spotify, SoundCloud, TuneIn Radio, iHeartRadio, and Pandora. Leave a review. 5-star. It's all algorithm based. The more you do, the more you're searched. You come up. The more you come up when you're searched, and that'll help us out greatly for those that like the audio aspect. Want to thank Greg Whitehead, Tampa Bay Rebel Club. They're talking about their watch parties being set up for 2021 and especially the Louisville game. As soon as I have information, I will let you know. Anyway, that is segment 1 in the books. Stay around.
Only 10% of us enough daily exercise.
And that number is dropping.
Nearly 30% of are overweight or obese. We spend 6 hours a day in front of screen.
As a result, we now have a shorter life expectancy than our parents.
But give us a start in sports and never stop.
Learn how at activelife.ca.
Hey, this is Stephen Willis from Positively Ole Miss. We're almost done with this break. We'll be back with information quite soon.
The military has been in every generation of my family, and so has VA. It wasn't easy for my dad after Vietnam, but VA had him and my mom the home they'd always wanted. Michael's been coming to VA since World War II. They even helped him lay to rest one battle buddies from Normandy. And me, I've been their footsteps and served with pride. And now out of the military, the GI Bills help us school. Every generation of my family has served, and VA served us all.
All right, welcome back to the POMcast. Stephen Willis here. Today, on our exit interviews, we're going to go over coaching. Remember, with this podcast, we talk about basically football, basketball, and baseball, but we're going to talk about football 75% of the time. It's the main sport that's out there. It's the main one that people truly care about. That is, what we're going to do. We're going to talk about football. We're going to talk about recruiting. We're going to talk spring ball. We're going to talk about summer workouts. We're going to talk coaching. We're going to do all of that stuff. We're going to stretch it over a year. Now, coaching exit interview, which is kind of difficult to do because Lane Kiffin is undoubtedly an A. There's no doubt about that. But the coaching exit interviews is about the whole side. And they had let go the defensive line coach, which means he got one of his hires wrong. So I'm going to make a B-. Now, after the bowl game, we've lost Blake Gideon and John Finley. John Finley went to Oklahoma, and Blake Gideon went to Texas. We've replaced Blake Gideon with the special teams coach that was already at Texas with Tom Herman. So My prediction, like, we have not hired the defensive line coach and we have not hired the tight end coach. Well, obviously, because it just happened. But the defensive line coach, until I hear otherwise, I've been almost since the beginning saying Jimmy Brumbaugh. I mean, there's way many fits and way too many angles to just discount him until you can discount him. And anybody that does so and they put in their names and everything and they come up with all these other names but Jimmy Brumbaugh. And it will be interesting to see where this ends. Now, Jimmy Brumbaugh, as I mentioned before, he got fired during the season at Tennessee, which probably turned to be a pretty good thing for him after what went on this offseason in Rocky Top land. He's also been at Kentucky. He's been at Colorado. But most importantly, he was the defensive line coach at Maryland when DJ Durkin was the head coach. What does that mean? He knows the system. He knows what he wants. He's lived in that world. They know they can coexist. They know it's a fit. So there's a lot of advantages that he has. Now, it comes down to, does it fit with Lane Kiffin? Because we know it fits with DJ Durkin. So in his system, Jim Brumbaugh would fit. He just would. And basically, DJ Durkin has to convince Lane Kiffin that he's good for his overall staff, especially when it comes to recruiting drops. There's other avenues in coaching. So that is where, until I see another name that is just really hitting home with defensive coach, I'm going to think Jimmy Brumbaugh. And I have thought Jimmy Brumbaugh for about a month at this point. But now, all of a sudden, the weathermen are joining along with that. Now, with the Joe Jon Finley thing, and this is just my opinion and what I would do, is I would take Derek Nix and move him down to tight ends. Everybody's like, oh, what are you doing, Steve? Yeah. Well, just listen. Take Derek Nix and move him down to tight ends. He's the recruiter of Mississippi. That's the reason you want him on staff. And the head coach is a wide receivers coach background, just so you know. And then I would go get T. Martin to coach wide receivers. That's his position group. He's fairly familiar with the South Alabama area. It'd help you in recruiting. And would be a net plus if you brought in, and that would handle both of those. The other thing is something you might want to do in the meantime is just move Derek Nix down to that position and bring Michael Spurlock in if T. Martin doesn't know. That is what I would do. But the name to pay attention to on the defensive line is Jimmy Brumbaugh. And pie in the sky wish for the Joe Finley is the move Derek's down and get T. Martin. It provides an opportunity. But as it comes to coaching, we basically have one product that we're going out with Tom Malone, who had a final three of Tennessee, Texas A&M, and Ole Miss. Tennessee was in there whenever they had Jimmy Brumbaugh. See that again? See how that's hitting numerous boxes on that. So Tennessee's kind of out of it now because of everything that's going on. So between Texas A&M and Ole Miss. And Talik Robbins was between Texas A&M and Ole Miss won that one. So with Tywone Malone, he would be the number one recruit day one in the class. The highest ranked and everything. Plays on the defensive line. Doesn't have to contribute immediately. Can get 15 snaps a game and just kind of acclimate college ball as a true freshman. And then get 25 or 30 or even start next year. The goal is got these two JUCO defensive linemen that they're very good. They really are. There's athleticism. There's all this stuff. Jamon Gordon made a case in college that Ole Miss should have been hard on him then. and it is a mistake. Got Ole Miss to offer this time. And he played really well. But with Talik Robinson and Tywan Malone, what you hope is they can do year one at 15 snaps a game, and then year two, they're the stars. The JUCO guys behind them, and the snaps are kind of equally distributed. Now this is on, we play mold fronts, all that stuff, but that's kind of the goal, or the hope, I should say, because if Tywan Malone is what I think he is, he's better than the two co-players. So hope by year two he's there, or he's playing majority of the snaps. Same with Talikans. If not, the insurance policy, those two JUCO players. I mean, that's the way it works, and that's the way they're looking at this situation. It's all about player development. It's all about things you can advertise out to the next generation of recruits. And sitting on the bench to your junior year is not advertisable. That's not a bit in today's recruiting market. But if you play as a true freshman bit, which they would, start as a sophomore, it's worth looking into. And that creates the competition element of the team, to where everybody is just battling, and the 3 days practice is worse than the game on Saturday. Saturday becomes fun. That's the goal. They're trying to make the competition during practice more grueling than what they're going to see on Saturday, which there is to do that. That's, good for them, but they have Alabama in their division. They have LSU in their division. I don't know if Ole Miss is going to be able to do that, but to that, they're going to raise the level each generation. That's the goal, to raise the level each generation. And 2 years, you have a bunch of A&M, Alabama level players, LSU level players participating in Oxford. That's the plan. That's what they want to do. And they're on their way with a team-based recruiting class. You saw under Orgeron in 2008. Now, he might have been an idiot on the field and did a bunch of stupid stuff. Ole Miss went 4-7, 3-8, and 4-8, or whatever it was. But those two classes in means, in 2008, that was one of the best talent-wise teams in the country. By the end of the year, they're beating anybody, even with a regressive offensive system. Minds back in the late 80s, 90s. Even with that, they were able to go toe-to-toe. I mean, they had Alabama on the ropes. I think that was the year Alabama went undefeated. Like McElroy. And it shows you what two highly well-thought-out, well-evaluated classes can do. Let's look at 2014. That's built off of 2011, 2013. Or 2012, 2011 and 2012 got you a Sugar Bowl and another Access Bowl, 2 recruiting classes. And that was just adding another class that was in the 20s, I think, in 2013 or something like that. That shows you the level that it can go. You need 2 really well-evaluated classes. You don't have to do it every year. You need 2 per cycle. Now, they graduate every 4 years, and if they're really well evaluated, they're gone to 3. Anyways, around, we got a lot more POMcast to go.
You want to answer that, don't you? I bet it's just killing you, being the glow just inches away. Someone wants to tell you something, or ask you something. Oh, come on, answer it already! Just so we're clear, that wasn't my fault. Next time, ignore your inner voice. Don't text and drive. A message from Florida's Choice Independent Insurance Agents.
Hey, this is Steve Willis. I just want you to stick around a little longer. We're going to get back to the podcast right after these messages.
Tonight, nearly 40,000 veterans across the country are homeless. Men and women have pledged to serve our nation, and now we must serve them. Landlords across the country have helped make significant progress in reducing veteran homelessness by making housing available, but there is more we can do to bring our veterans home. Visit www.va.gov/homeless to see how you can get involved. And if you are a veteran or are experiencing homelessness, please call 7748-VET. Thank you.
Right, POMcast, last segment of the day on this Wednesday, January 20th. Thank you so much for joining us. Please leave a review, 5 stars. Say whatever you want to. You can talk all kinds of noise about me. But star review. And that'll help people that search after you locate this. So especially like this. Now, today, the equipment is supposed to start coming in for $20,000 investment in the show. We're doing the podcast right now, and it's basically set up just to train me to talk for a half hour at a time. It was to get me back from my surgery. And I've kept up as a means to, build an audience. Thank you so much. I mean, our numbers have gone up every month. It looks like stairs month to month if you look at that. So thank you very much for that. We have some painting to do in the Palatial Central Florida studios, and we have built our stand-up wall and decorating that. I've got an old I think his name's Daniel Moore print from 1993. I was going to put that up and looked in there in the Battle M in the background, like, I'll put it in another part of the office then. But I also have some MWO posters I'm probably going to get framed and, hang those up instead. And, DK and AJ just in for the show. So stand-up wall. So looks pretty cool. Got a flag, Independence Bowl from 1983. I can't believe that flag has made it at this point. Let's see, how far? 38 years. That's crazy. But it has. And I've got a playbook from Mike McIntyre from 2000. His offensive playbook for that. So you'll be able to see that as it'll all be behind me on my stand-up wall. So that's exciting. Once the equipment gets here, we have to figure out how to set it up to where stand-up wall is available, and normal wall and multiple camera angles can be used. And I'm planning on setting up my podcast where there's probably at least 2 or 3 camera angles available to you, just so it is, Wayne's World-ish, of just a talking head on monitor, and you call that video. I don't want to do that. I want to change it up as much as I can. If you're looking for an example of what I might look for, I don't know his name, at 24/7 Sports. He does a podcast on YouTube. I think it's name like Josh Pate or something. But the technical aspect of doing multiple camera shots, and it's not going to look exactly the same, but that's kind of a close proxy of what we're looking at. And I have a lot of flexibility with this because this is a completely fan-related thing. This is this allows us to do different segments and things that independent media can't do because they're so scared of being viewed as a fan, because set that environment. It's a construct that they've built themselves. And being outside of that is just so much freedom to give you more of what you want. We're going to pay attention to what you're listening to. We're going to, it's like, anatomy of a touchdown. The audience really spoke during the 7-minute mark. They were interested in this. That's kind of the plan. Whenever we're doing this, it's going to be a lot of fun, and it's going to be introductive, and we're going to have if we get equipment in and get it set up and everything. Our first Chris Thrasher segment is going to be this week, the Oxford correspondent. We're going to do uniforms. We're going to recruiting. We're going to do stuff that you are interested in. We're not going to build just an anxious environment, because that's where people trying to milk you for me, is an anxious environment and fear-based. And you do that in recruiting, you can do that in coaching. I mean, anytime somebody brings up a Lane Kiffin thing from a pay side, well, they're to do a subscription sell, so okay. But we're not going to do that. We're not going to basically use you as an ATM. I mean, it's not here. Whenever we say an honest coverage of Ole Miss athletics, it's just going to be we're not going to dwell. We're not going to just beat something in the ground. We're just going to tell you what's going on. And we say all the time in basketball right this year is like, Ole Miss doesn't shoot her. I mean, how many times can we say that when something goes wrong? Then we do. If we do, could beat it to death, the dead horse. But Ole Miss right now doesn't have a shooter. There's nothing you can really do with that. So that's what we're talking about. We're going to say it. We're going to be honest about it. We're going to tell you what's going on, but no need to create that anxiousness that media creates. So that's our goal. Anyway, Wednesday, January 20th. Thank you very much for listening. I'm Stephen Willis. This has been the POMcast, and hotty toddy.